Welcome to News Talk with Simoni Vani at the International News Channel. I'm sure by now all of you have heard about the disappearance and murder of 22-year-old Instagram adventurer Gabby Petito in Wyoming, United States. Her initial disappearance made headlines almost instantly and gained overwhelming media coverage as the case progressed. While Americans and Canadians are sympathizing with the news, everyone is also pointing fingers at media outlets for their unfair media coverage. News is that there are currently 710 missing Indigenous people from the same state Petito's remains were ultimately found, but those cases received almost no media attention. MSNBC's Joy Reid has called it the missing white woman syndrome. Reid questioned why not the same media attention when people of color go missing. Zach Summers, a sociologist at Northwestern University, undertook research on the matter on his own in 2013. He found that missing white women were more likely to be the subject of news coverage, and that also with a different intensity compared to missing white men or missing men and women of color. Joining me today to discuss this further are my fellow co-hosts Julia Cosby and Avaah Blackwell. Welcome back, ladies.
Hey. Hi, thanks for having us.
I guess first of all, I want to talk to you guys about the Gabby Petito case. Had you heard about her before? Were you familiar with her work? What was the situation there on your personal end?
Nope, I've never heard of her until I heard of this story, and she has 1.1 million followers, so that was pretty impressive, but I had never heard of her.
Yeah, before the media blew up the case, I had never heard of her either.
Okay, well, after the media blew up her case, what was your initial reaction on her disappearance and then eventually the discovery of her body?
Well, I think when anyone passes and when you discover any body, that's obviously very traumatic for the family. That's something I don't like to hear about. It's definitely very sad. I just feel really bad for her family.
I feel the same, Julia, and I feel that, although there is some closure when you do find a missing person's body, it lets the family know what happened to a certain extent. Obviously, there's a lot of bereavement, and it opens up a whole other set of questions.
Yeah, no, it does. And honestly, our condolences to her family and anyone who knew her personally for that matter. So her fiance is still missing. Do you guys think there was foul play involved, or do you think there's more brewing in the pot?
That's not really like my place to say because I'm not a state detective, state police. I feel like they have all the information that they need and they're constantly finding new information. It's really not for me to say anything or get involved in their cases. And it's not even in the country I live in. So
that's true.
Obviously, I feel the same. I'll leave that up to the professionals to handle, and we'll watch and report as the case unfolds.
Fair enough. And now changing gears a bit. Are you both familiar with the term missing white woman syndrome?
Yes, I believe the late Gwen Ifill coined the term during a Journalists of Color conference in 2004. Is that correct?
Yeah, no, that's correct.
Yeah, I just, one thing I would like to point out and make really clear that I know with this story it deals with a lot of like Indigenous issues, and you can still be Indigenous and be white, and I feel like being Indigenous or being Native, that's more of a cultural thing. And when you kind of separate them, I don't know how I feel about that, because you can be both.
No, fair enough. And as journalists, or based on your personal experience or what you've seen in the media, do you guys agree that the media can be biased occasionally, whether it's intentional or unintentional?
Yes. And obviously it's a pertinent issue.
Yeah. I think because there's just so much information sometimes when you're writing a story or putting together a story, it's really hard, and you really have to know who your audience is. Some journalists, if they had all the means and all the time and they could write as long as they would probably write some novels if they could. But the job of journalists who are writing for certain outlets is they have to summarize everything and condense everything. And as much as they would like to link, well, this point is actually linked to this because of this, you really have to cut out a lot of information, which could make something seem a little bit biased, which is always a debate. It's always really hard to decide what you cut out and what you keep.
Yeah. I mentioned Summers a while ago, so in his research, he pulled out a couple of reasons for the bias. He claimed most coverage decisions come from the newsroom, and American newsroom's racial makeup remains disproportionately white. He also put up the idea of making coverage decisions based on economic decisions, and missing white women are likely worth more in terms of eyeballs and revenue. How much truth do you think that holds?
Well, to further your point and to quote Martin G. Reynolds, who's an executive director of the Maynard Institute for Journalism and Education, he states that our newsrooms don't reflect the diversity of the country, and folks in editing roles are even less diverse. Until journalism corrects this, we are going to continue to be more and more irrelevant to audiences that reflect that feature. I think that it's an unfortunate perceived truth that deals with a lot of things. There's classism, ageism, racism that is perpetuating the false statement in traditional media that white women are more valuable. They're not. White women are more valuable to audience members and to society. And I think that truth needs to be shattered. We're all human beings. We all contribute to society. We need to put pressure on the media to start showcasing that truth.
No, fair enough. I think he hit that right on the head. Julia?
I think that this is an American story, and a lot of the places that we're taking reference from are people who live in the States. And although Canada and the USA have a lot of very big similarities, they are completely different countries. And so I've never actually worked in the United States of American markets, like CNN or Fox News or any of those stations over there. So I don't really know how they operate and what their newsrooms really look like. And unless I had firsthand experience, I can't really comment on that.
But speaking of the Petito case in particular, do you think that the case received a bit more than normal media coverage? And if so, was it because she was white or because she was a celebrity with the 1.1 million subscribers, as we just said?
I honestly think it was both. Look, in one respect, this really showcases the power of social media. There was a couple of different accounts that I found in my research that really helped to get the case a little bit more traction because it wasn't getting as much media coverage as was necessary to find her. As we all know, there's a short window of time to find a person when they're missing, so it's important to get as much media coverage as possible in the first 36 to 48 hours. Often doesn't happen. But there was an account from Paris Campbell on TikTok. She was also like an avid TikToker, and she and a new mother, and she started championing the case. And then Kyle and Jen Bethune were informed from a friend that they might have been in the same area as Petito, also traveling with their van. So they were able to review the footage that they took for their YouTube channel, and they saw her van, and they were able to alert authorities to that. And also Haley Tumaine has also been actively championing her case. So in that regard, we see the positive side effects of it, whether it's because Petito was already involved in that community and these influencers wanted to support their community further, or whether it's because she's white. I don't really know.
I think it's just sad that she died and sad that the family has to deal with all of this. And I can say that, I never heard about her before hearing about this story a few days ago. But I will say that I did hear a lot about Kim Kardashian in a bathtub and who was robbed. So it's weird that we hear about these celebrity stories more than like local people who go missing, and even in my own community. I think that's sad in a way, and it's weird that I know about this Kim K story, but not about too many of my local stories.
Yeah.
But it's
the media works in mysterious ways, I guess. Speaking of mysterious ways, what kind of changes would you guys like to see implemented in newsrooms in terms of media coverage for missing people?
Well, to be honest, I don't hear too much about missing people on my local media, or if it's a really, really big case, national media. If it's like a countrywide manhunt, usually we'll hear about it. But if not, I don't really hear about it. Maybe if someone substantial internationally goes missing, like some kind of president or prime minister or royal, I feel like I would hear about that. But locally, I feel like the television stations, newspapers haven't been doing, I feel, in my view, the best job. But although on social media, that's where I hear all the information about missing people, and that's where I feel like it gets shared the most, and the most information is delivered to me. So I feel like it's less in traditional media and more in this new form of media where we're hearing about all of these cases come in, where the traditional media only has a certain I guess, time span to explain everything. But with social media, you can share anything. You can share any amount of information as long as the person clicking the button wants to continue clicking. So I think that's like a wonderful thing about this new technology is we can hear about all these cases. We can dig in deeper, and we're not just limited to what some announcer wants to tell us or what a time frame makes you only see, you know?
No, that's fair. And I'm not sure about you guys, but I actually heard about the Petito case in particular on social media.
Yeah.
I found the case on social media first. So that says a lot about media everywhere, or our local media, as Julia's saying as well.
Same. And just to answer your previous question and to further Julia's point here, as we're all aware, Indigenous women in North America are 3.5 times more likely to be murdered or go missing than any other race, especially Caucasian women, and it's far less likely that it'll be reported or get any media coverage. If you want to help create more traction and get these cases reported and seen on social media and even on news channels, you can go to Sovereign Bodies Institute or the National Indigenous Women's Resource Center. They have a lot going on. You can sign petitions, you can find forums, you can channel cases through platforms that are already set up for them.
No, that sounds amazing, and I want to thank you girls for joining me.
Thanks for having us. This was a really great talk.
We'll see you again soon. And thank you to our viewers for joining us once again. This is Simoni Vani with Avaah Blackwell and Julia Cosby. You're watching the International News Channel on TAG TV. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to stay up to date on all our latest videos.